That's all we was gone.
Sound the alarm. It's a busy, busy week in the NBA. I'm Juliet Litman.
I'm Chris Ryan.
This is Sources Say, and man, sources are talking this week.
They needed us. The streets needed us.
The streets needed us. There's been so much happening. I just want to say, still my favorite storyline of this NBA season is Bradley Beal saying that the Wizards team meeting was not pointless, but didn't really accomplish anything. But let's move on to bigger and better items.
I'm kind of sad.
Are you?
Well, here's the thing. In a weird way, the Clippers are our team.
The Clippers are our team.
I feel like they came together really, like Lob City really started popping off when we moved to LA.
Yes.
And they've been like a constant in our podcasting lives.
It's true.
Is the drama in LA with Blake and DeAndre and Chris and Doc.
It's really true.
End of an era.
Between the two storylines that really gave us life were Paul George in Indiana.
Yes, that certainly. It also gave his child life.
Also included Callie Rivers, the connection to the Clippers.
Yeah.
And Lob City, you're right, because we started working at Grantland. Well, you started in 2011.
Yeah.
And I did kind of ish, and that was when Chris Paul came to the Clippers, and so Lob City was alive as long as Grantland was. And actually, it just outlived Grantland, and now it's really dead, as is Grantland. So it's all come full circle, and that's all to say Blake Griffin is gone.
Yeah.
Deuces. Peace out, Blake.
So Blake Griffin got traded to Detroit. Obviously, you guys probably know this by now if you're listening to your 15th NBA podcast of the week, no doubt. And
he was traded less than 48 hours ago, and it feels like a week.
Yeah. I mean, the Washington Wizards players-only meeting feels like it was in 2016. John Wall's was he out for the season?
He's out 6 to 8 weeks, but is it going to be explosive John Wall in 8 weeks? I don't think so.
We'll see. We'll talk a little bit about that. But with Blake, man, there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about. First of all, I'm really savoring just seeing Blake in a new setting. I realized how energized I was. I hope he is too. I know that Verno said he was sad, but Blake getting off the private jet in the obviously freezing tarmac in Detroit and just talking about how excited he was to start this new chapter, but subtle shot at the Clippers fan base.
What did he say?
Just talked about like the passion of the fans that he can already see. And you got to remember, Blake has kind of taking some shots at the Clippers fans. He's like, it feels like it's an away game when like we're playing. And it's like, I think that was
I think that was after a Warriors loss.
Yeah.
He was like, the reason why we lost is because of the fans.
Yeah.
So I guess Clippers fans still loved him, but I don't know if it went both ways.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see him in the East. It'll be interesting to see him playing with Drummond. It's interesting to see him playing in front of a new fan base that probably has been dying to have like a big name like that. I don't know. I'm kind of excited to watch the Pistons. I don't know necessarily that they're going to get more than like this. I mean, a lot of people are really shitting on this trade, but I think they can get the 6th seed.
Interesting. You do?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. I hope that works out. I guess they can. The East is kind of wide open.
You know what happened was I was
they're currently in 9.
out on Tibbs earlier in the season. And I was like, Tibbs doesn't know how to coach anymore. He's like, doesn't get along with these guys, doesn't communicate. And the Timberwolves are awesome. And Stan Van Gundy's a really good coach. And everybody's like, well, how is he going to make this work? Like, he might figure out a way.
I hope so. Because the consensus is that Stan Van Gundy needs to make it work to keep his job.
Yes.
Basically.
And that was why they made the trade in the first place.
Right. And he's the one who makes that trade, isn't he? He's the president of basketball ops.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it makes sense. There's a lot other strands we need to get into here. First of all, I just want to let you know that the high today in Detroit is 39.
Yeah.
The high today in
That's
Los
probably
Angeles.
balmy for Detroit.
It
in
is.
January.
I think that is balmy. It's also going to snow for the rest of the week. But Blake came off the plane in a very large winter coat. I liked it.
Do you think Blake's seen the Jennifer Lopez George Clooney classic Out of Sight?
I bet he has, actually.
Yeah.
Don't you feel like that's a movie Blake Griffin would see?
Because that movie, I guess Detroit's not super cool in that movie, but it looks cool.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not? There's just was a lot of player reaction to it as well.
Yes.
So the Blake Griffin Clippers meeting from June, July 2017 has been revisited a lot in the wake of this trade, because he was signed to a 5-year, $137 million deal, and the Clippers like wooed him by saying he would retire.
Wasn't it like 173? It was 137.
Yeah, 173. Yeah, reversed those numbers. The Clippers said he would retire as a Laker for life,
right,
and
they ran him through a maze throughout Staples Center with all this like "this is your life" paraphernalia up, like showing him in Oklahoma, showing him get drafted, and then when it got to the end of the maze, he was overlooking Staples Center, and they were lifting his jersey into the rafters and being like, "This is what's going to be."
And they made those T-shirts that were made it to social media.
And I've really been enjoying rereading Lawrence Frank and Doc Rivers interviews about being a Clipper for life, about how Blake's going to be a Clipper for life.
It's pretty wild. And then ever since that happened, he's been photographed with Kendall Jenner quite a bit. He got injured again. Like, it's just been a pretty weird time for Blake. And
it's interesting that it sounds like that the precipitating event that caused the Clippers to be open to this in the first place was his December injury. And to that, I just am kind of like, did you not think that Blake Griffin was going to get injured again?
Right. Did you think that he was like had a new body or something?
Yeah.
Since you signed him to a $173 million deal. It's pretty wild to see that he just got traded like that, and that the Pistons are also not worried, I guess, about his injury history.
Well, I think that they think he's going to put butts in seats. But the players' reaction to this, like the various other players around the league reacting to this, I don't know how to characterize Blake's popularity in the league.
I don't really either. That's a good point. He seems fun, and he's like an A-lister, but he's not part of like a
clique.
He's not part of a clique. No, it used to be him and DeAndre, but they don't hang out as much anymore.
Right. And so I don't get the impression, like, the Warriors and the Clippers have had really feisty games. I don't get the impression like he is beloved by other players, but it's really just a superficial reading of like the way people are with him on the court. And these quotes are more general. So Steph, Katie, and LeBron all weighing in. Steph said it's another example of players being pigeonholed with the idea of loyalty, sacrifice, and all that kind of stuff when it comes to signing deals and where they want to play. It's not reciprocated on the other end consistently. Classic Steph, like, reasonable take. Katie, when he signed, they did say he was going to be a Clipper for life. We know those words don't really mean anything as players. Okay. LeBron, when a player gets traded, it's their doing. It's them doing what's best for the franchise. But when a player decides to leave, he's not loyal, he's a snake, he's not committed. It's just that's the narrative of how it goes. I'm definitely aware. I know firsthand. We'll be heading into LeBron a little bit later. What do you think of these reactions?
These are more like this is a parable, less about like Blake Griffin.
Yeah, this isn't like I feel so bad for Blake because he probably had so much, like his roots were so down in LA and now he's moving to Detroit.
Yeah, totally. I mean, just thinking about like who Blake has been photographed with, like the first, like when Sam Decker got traded to the Clippers, he was like him and his former fiance and Sam Decker and his wife like all went out to dinner like in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
But like I don't really feel like Sam Decker is like, makes a squad. And then he was photographed with Chandler Parsons a lot over the summer as well.
Blake was.
Yeah. Blake, like, and like those players aren't really aren't chirping up for him in general. Like it is true. Like it seems like this is more of like using this to talk about like labor versus management.
Yeah.
It's more of like an Orwellian response,
Well, Katie and LeBron both have like you betrayed us narratives going. Steph does not have a no trade clause. This was discussed today a little bit because everybody was like, "How did Blake not get a no trade clause?"
Right.
He had because he was eligible for it because he had that year of service, even though he didn't play his rookie year.
Shout out to Mark Stein for
apparently
explaining that.
Steph did not get that, even though it was discussed with the Warriors.
Right. Do you believe in no trade clauses?
If you can get them, I believe in anything you can ask for.
I agree. You should, if you can get it, you should.
And somebody like Steph, this is wild because I think Steph's like really in the MVP conversation. But
Agreed.
Has had ankle problems in the past, and if the Warriors, I don't think the Warriors would ever do it. I feel like Steve Kerr goes out of his way to say that the Warriors are Steph.
Yeah.
It's like this entire thing is because of the way Steph plays.
Yeah.
But it is wild to think about these guys who are just so important to their franchises, not only on the court, but in terms of marketing. Blake was like on the side of a building, selling season tickets with Blake Griffin, and you're just like, okay, this is over.
Who's the biggest star in LA now? Like in LA sports? Like who is the most famous athlete here?
The most famous athlete in Los Angeles.
It's kind of nuts. Like the Dodgers have some famous people.
Yeah, they have like a bunch of young kids. Like they have Seager and they have Puig and they have
Kershaw is really famous.
And Kershaw. I think Kershaw might be the most famous LA athlete right now.
I think it might be him too, but like also Like, is Lonzo Ball like suddenly?
I think
top
Lonzo's
3?
top 5 for sure.
It's kind of nuts to think about. I mean, is it Jared Goff? Like, no.
I don't think anybody cares about the Rams yet.
No.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I mean,
though.
Phillip Rivers probably is the most famous athlete in LA, even though he's not like an LA athlete.
If you're throwing like a party though, and you want to get like the face of LA sports to attend, who do you target? It was Blake Griffin.
Magic.
It's still Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
That's kind of nuts though.
Yeah.
And I guess it's still Kobe too, but he.
Yeah, it's Kobe. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. But I would say that, like, affiliated with the team, the biggest name in LA sports is probably Magic Johnson.
That's a big opening.
Yeah.
Is that appealing to like Paul George or to LeBron?
Well, we don't even know what life is like with, like, can you imagine if there was a LeBron figure here?
No, I can't.
Yeah.
It was just Kobe for so long, and I think our view is a little bit skewed because of the way we cover basketball. But for the last like 3 years of Kobe, it was, first of all, a ton of drama with Dwight, and then he was injured. But it was just sort of like waiting for the Kobe era to end.
Right.
And the Lonzo era is off to a shaky start. Love Kyle Kuzma. Doesn't exactly have the wattage we're looking for.
He's more of a cult figure. He's
Yeah.
like kind of like a folk hero. Rather
Totally.
Than, yeah.
It's just kind of weird. There's a real void that I think everyone will be talking about come June.
I'm sure that the next 2 summers is going to be. I mean, but we've been wondering about this for a while because the Lakers have been in the mix, have tried to be in the mix for free agents for a long time. And now the Clippers are putting themselves in a position. It's not going to be as much this season, I don't think, as much as next season. But the Clippers are trying to put themselves in a position to get those guys too.
Isn't it weird for AllStar to be here without a major star on either of the two teams?
There's something weird about this All-Star coming.
It definitely feels different than in previous years.
Yeah.
Maybe also, again, our view is skewed like as media. But I remember when it was in New York, like Melo was like kind of like the host, you know?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
At the All-Star game, it was like, this is Melo's arena. And
Anthony Davis kind of was like
yeah,
that
he
for
was
the
like,
New Orleans
exactly.
one. Yeah.
And in Toronto, like, they had Drake, who's like just so high profile, but also like DeRozan and Lowry have been like in the top tier of the NBA for a long time. They're just sort of like not that player for LA for this All-Star.
Certainly not now. Yeah.
It's bizarre. It should have been Blake, but then he didn't even make the All-Star team. And I remember thinking like it'll be weird that Blake
Like, is
will be
Blake
noticing.
going to be in Mexico while the All-Star game is in LA?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's just a real void. And we talk about this all the time, but the NBA is so much more fun when there is like intrigue around the New York and LA teams.
What do you think about the Junkyard Dog Clippers?
So there was a good video of DeAndre Jordan leaving Nice Guy on the night that Blake got traded, and he just like didn't want to talk, and he looked really sad. And I was like, is he sad about Blake, or is he wondering when his time is coming? Because like it's rumored that he's next, right? Him and Lou Williams. I kind of like the Junkyard Clippers a little bit more than I used to. It's fun.
I mean, this will be an interesting. A lot of times when you listen to podcasts and you hear people advocate for things like, for instance, like I actually agree with Nate Duncan, but he was saying if I'm the Pelicans and he's like, and I understand that this is not how this works. He was like, I would trade Anthony Davis tomorrow. This is the height of Anthony Davis's value. And this is how you rebuild this franchise and essentially save this franchise is by rebuilding it for the next 10 years by getting rid of somebody who is probably going to leave you in 2 years.
Yeah.
And DeMarcus is exactly why you do that, because you never know when a guy might take the wrong step, go chasing his own rebound. That's like, that makes sense intellectually.
Sure.
But it's tough to stomach as like kind of a more casual fan, as someone who doesn't care about team building.
Yeah.
They want to see like the guys that they have a personal relationship with. So this Clippers team, which is now disassembled what was a relatively popular like group of players, to not only the big three, but guys like Jamal Crawford, guys like Redick, who were pretty popular Clippers.
It was like a team with a brand. Like it or
Yes.
not, it was like it was a very specific flavor, and you knew what you were going to get from the Clippers, and that kind of gave like a narrative baseline to watching the Western Conference. And it's just weird that's totally gone.
And all the things that people are kind of saying about the Clippers now, which is like, oh, they're going to be really good defensively, or like Tobias Harris is such a more affordable option to play either a stretch 4 or 3 than Blake was. And they're like, so they have so much flexibility going forward. And for the first time, they have a couple picks and they're developing young players. It's like, that's all true.
Right.
But it's also, this is a major media market. The Clippers got well because they were flying through the rafters dunking, and they had Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan flushing alley-oops.
Right.
So it'll just be really interesting to see what the Clippers fan base's reaction is to Milos, Pat Bev, Tobias Harris, and Sam Decker leading the Clippers into the second half of the season.
I'm just going to say that's not really a sexy team. Like the teams that are popular are Lob City or just teams that shoot the lights out or have a unicorn.
Yeah.
And they are none of those things. So like the Rockets and the Warriors are a separate beast, but like the Rockets are exciting this year because James Harden could go off for 60 and because Eric Gordon is like incredible and obviously Chris Paul too. But like you need to have some kind of flair. And I don't think like a solid, like affordable team is really going to fill the Staples Center more than it was before.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially with this baby Lakers thing, which while not a success on the court has definitely like gotten a lot of attention. I have a couple questions I want to ask for you. The most important one is, who is the Clipper to be? Who is our future Clipper leader?
Clipper princess.
The Clipper
promised.
who will rise. Yeah. Is it Paul George? Is it Klay Thompson?
I know this is really unpopular. I think Paul George will stay in Oklahoma City.
It's not unpopular.
I think he will.
I think Roberson getting hurt and then they're going to have like a somewhat challenging. I know Sharks thinks that they'll be better, but I think Roberson getting hurt is going to make it a challenge for them to be a serious playoff contender.
Uh-huh.
And I wonder whether or not he's like, life's too short. I'm going to move to LA. Interesting.
Maybe I'm totally wrong, but I just don't think the Clippers or the Lakers are that appealing.
Los Angeles is, though.
Yes, that's true. Who is the future Clipper? I don't know about Klay. I don't know.
Do you think
I don't think Michael Thompson
would disown him?
I don't think I just don't think Michael Thompson would like that. Although if they give him all the money, maybe.
Yeah.
Money talks, as they say.
Yeah.
Who do you think it is?
We had this argument about LeBron and like, cause Jerry West, who's one of those sort of front office, he is what a lot of people think is making these moves. Lawrence Frank is the president of basketball ops, I think. Mm-hmm. But and Michael Winger from the Thunder is now the GM there. So I do think that they have like some new kind of blood in the front office. But this LeBron West relationship is being touted as a reason why the Clippers could get into the mix for LeBron.
You know what else was really touted for a while? The Jerry West Harrison Barnes relationship. Remember that article when Barnes was still on the Warriors, where it's like he's learned everything he's got from spending the summer with Jerry West. And then he was gone. Yeah. So,
do you know if LeBron and Doc get along?
I don't know. Do you?
Just because LeBron has had a contentious relationship with the city of Boston, and Doc was there for most of that.
Sure. I don't know if that's really the coach that LeBron is looking for in the final.
Yeah, I would have to imagine. I mean, LeBron doesn't go anywhere and is like, I'm just here to slide in and like make it work. It's like I come and then like there's usually a coaching change. There's usually a huge roster turnover.
Even Spo was obviously very young and was kind of like selected by Pat Riley.
Yeah.
And he's a great coach, one of the best in the league, but he's not like a Doc Rivers type who sort of demands to be like the guy.
Yeah. How do you think that Pelinka would feel if Rich Paul delivers LeBron to the Clippers? Would he feel betrayed after using so much of his cap space knowledge?
Pelinka will be fine because as we learned from the article on Lakers.com, his favorite class in high school was AP Calculus.
Yeah.
And
he loves problem solving. So I'm pretty sure he'll figure it out. Check out that article written by Kevin Ding. It's a
doozy.
There's a real
it's
Pelinka patting himself on the back for sending D'Angelo Russell to Brooklyn because it's like a good situation for him.
Yeah.
Because there's a human element to these trades,
There's some real Lakers long form out there, and it's pretty incredible. Who do you think is the Clipper that will be promised? It's just so hard to forecast because there's just so much changes so quickly in the NBA.
Yeah.
It's just been a wild 10 days.
It depends on who is building the Clippers. It depends on who is in charge. Is it Doc? Is it Jerry West? Is it just Michael Winger? Who is the player that they're coming to play with? Or is it a complete like, hey, we've got Patrick Beverly and Tobias Harris and Avery Bradley who we've resigned. So like the perimeter defense is already awesome. Like you don't have to worry about like one of the problems for LeBron right now and like in the second half of this season is like he's the best defender in the starting lineup now. Right. I guess Tristan is, but like LeBron has to play a lot of two-way basketball right now.
Right. I think also the other problem facing every superstar looking to move to a new city, the teams that have been the most successful over the last few years, minus LeBron's teams, are the result of a system and like slow growth using draft picks
Yeah.
and scouting.
Yeah.
And so like that's true for the Warriors. That's true.
Celtics.
That's true for the Celtics. Even true for the Rockets. Like they have like a
Sixers, even like
Sixers,
like
yeah.
a team like on the rise where it's like they've gone and identified guys.
Yeah. So it's not just like plug and play.
Yeah.
And so I think that's just going to be a challenge for the Clippers and the Lakers. I think it's more of a challenge for the Lakers actually because they've gotten all of these high draft picks lately, and Brandon Ingram is probably not a number one, and Lonzo is like maybe will be a great point guard, but it's kind of hard to know what his ceiling is right now.
Yeah.
So good luck to everyone in LA.
Should we talk about the Cavs and Kevin Love?
Yes. This is a podcast that wants to declare justice for Kevin Love. We stand with Kevin Love. You've been a long-time champion of his, like really even before the Lil Kev days, and he's getting a raw deal right now.
He's just had such a strange career.
He really
has.
He's
Has
29 years old.
It's a tale of two careers, and it's so wild to look at him now, even compared to what he looked like in Minnesota and even to some extent UCLA. But like his body type, his game style, all that stuff was like so different in Minnesota. He was this kind of doughy post-playing maestro in Minnesota who expanded his game outwards over the course of the seasons in Minnesota, but like obviously could not be the best player on your team if you wanted to make the playoffs. And then he's kind of like changed his body. He's changed his whole vibe. He's like now a Banana Republic model. And I have not, it's a real question about like, what are you willing to give up? What are you willing to sublimate? What like dignity wise, what are you willing to give up to be a champion? And just watching this whole thing over the last couple of weeks where it's like everybody questioning Kevin Love's illness against Oklahoma was like the thing that led to this players only meeting. And then Isaiah kind of being like, I wasn't calling out Kevin Love. I just demanded to know what happened to him.
Let's talk about how this unfolded because it was really weird. So the Cavs lose big time to the Thunder on a ABC showcase game. Kevin Love leaves in the middle of the game, and it's like unclear what's wrong with him. And then it comes out that there's a team meeting, and the players want to know like why Kevin Love wasn't on the bench and didn't attend practice the next day. This comes out from an article with Woj. LeBron James, if you do a Command F, LeBron James is not mentioned in this article about the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yes.
And it's like it's a bad look for Kevin Love.
Yeah.
It's weird. Then like 5 days later, Isaiah Thomas talks to the media and he clarifies because he seems like the ringleader against Kevin Love, being like, I wasn't calling out Kevin Love. We just wanted to know where he was. No one from the team told us what happened to him, so we were just curious, like just trying to like fact find. Basically,
it's a really interesting interview if you can find the video of Isaiah, because I just want to specify that he wasn't like we were concerned for Kevin Love. It was more just like I want an explanation for why this guy is no longer here.
Yes.
And he did say, I've known Kevin Love since like 5th or 6th grade. It's not a problem with me and Kevin Love. But I would not exactly say like this could have been easily wrapped up if Isaiah was like, oh, yeah, well, we were just wondering like what happened to Kev because like we were concerned like he left. Like, is he okay?
Yeah. Exactly. It was more like we needed an explanation.
Yes. Now,
but he was kind of turning it on the team management.
Yes, the infrastructure.
And away from the players.
I will say also that in the wake of that team meeting, Kevin Love handled himself pretty well. He had a pretty funny interview where they asked him like about being an all-star and like being drafted by Team LeBron, and he joked about going last. He's like, I probably got drafted last. And then the next game, he grabbed a rebound, and instead of like passing it to Isaiah Thomas or like handing it off to him, he like dipped down to Isaiah Thomas's height and like handed him the ball on a platter, like almost as if like, here you go, sir, like your ball. So that was pretty funny. Isaiah thought it was, I think he thought it was funny.
I can't read Isaiah Thomas's mind.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And now Kevin Love broke his hand. Is out for 6 to 8 weeks.
I am the image of Kevin Love running back to the locker room knowing he's injured is like a searing image in my head. Like he always looks exactly the same. It's kind of sad. He runs with urgency but also kind of like a real calmness about him. It's kind of strange.
But here is the saddest thing. So last night he breaks his hand, fractures his hand. He's going to be out for probably 2 months. Dave McMenamin, right after the game, Kevin Love was transported back to Cleveland in a car after receiving x-rays and seeing his teammates at halftime. It was like, so I don't know who told Dave, like, make sure everyone knows that Kevin, like, showed his fractured hand to his teammates so that they didn't question like the legitimacy of his medical reasons. It's like, come on, guys.
Seriously. Like it's pretty wild.
And then today we got LeBron with this it's fit out season, I guess, or whatever.
It's definitely fit out season.
He put up what was an Instagram story that said, what was the actual quote?
When you become lazy, it's disrespectful to those who believe in you, with the 100 emoji.
Who do you think that's about? I don't think Kevin Love could be considered lazy for breaking his hand.
Isaiah Thomas for not working hard enough on his comeback.
Well, he is definitely updating us all the time about what percentage
he is practicing.
Back.
Yeah,
and he's like pretty. It's interesting that he has become the voice of the Cavs.
Yes. As I've been saying for a while, he is a voice and he would like to be heard.
Yeah,
which I don't begrudge him at all.
Jay Crowder and J.R. Smith both having tough seasons. J.R. Smith probably having a career worst offensive season.
Yes.
I don't know who else he could be referring to. Channing Frye got dunked on a couple times last night, but I think that was more just like he's used to playing 5 minutes a game,
I guess.
If at all. I don't know who's not giving the effort on that team. Isaiah Thomas's defensive rating numbers are astonishing. Like it's like,
but they were always bad.
You think he was playing 1-on-5? Seriously.
Yikes, Isaiah. It's a tough one. If you keep watching that LeBron story, though, on Instagram, it gets really cute. He shares a beverage with his daughter, and they burp in each other's faces. Dad LeBron's my favorite LeBron.
Since we started this podcast talking about the end of an era, and sort of how the Clippers have matched like us doing pods together. Are you prepared for the end of the Cavs? Are you ready for the end of the Cavs? The end of LeBron in the lands? Are you kind of like, I'm done?
I'm ready for it. The Miami era feels like so long ago.
Oh yeah.
It's like, but LeBron is ever present. Like it's like just he carries us forward.
Yes.
I'm ready for the end of the Cavs. I also am really ready for the Cavs to not make the Eastern Conference Finals, let alone the finals. Like let's just mix it up. Let's have some fun.
Yes.
I mean like that's like a prayer. I think they'll still make the finals just because.
Absolutely not.
Oh, you don't think so?
I do not think so.
I just never want to bet against LeBron, as he told me on his Instagram, you know?
Anything else you want to get to today?
Great question, Chris. I just want to mention that we have a great feature about Jason Tatum on The Ringer today by John Gonzalez. Shout out to my Monday morning heat check partner. But more importantly, last week the Celtics were in town, and teams like to go out to nightclubs when they're in LA. The Celtics went to Warwick, which is not too far from our office here in Hollywood.
Oh.
Gigantic life-size, beyond life-size, like gigantic photo of Emily Ratajkowski in there, her naked.
Why?
It's just like that's the decor. It's like a giant, huge
photo. Do you think she was paid for that?
Definitely.
Okay.
It's like art in air quotes.
Oh, it wasn't like we just took a picture from GQ and put it up.
No, it's like a model. It's like she posed for it. It's
okay.
Like it's kind of shocking and weird. Anyway, Jason Tatum, not allowed in the club because he's only 19 years old.
Old enough to be a father, though.
Old enough to be a father, not old enough for the club.
Interesting week of clubs for these guys. Well, just because the Warriors went out in Utah, apparently.
Okay, so the Warriors lost by 30 in Utah last night. Donovan Mitchell, very proud of himself. Congrats, Donovan Mitchell. You'll have a great future.
Juliet, can I interrupt you for a second?
Sure.
Breaking news.
Oh, no.
Katherine Heigl joined Suits.
What? Oh, my God. Are you serious?
Yeah. Katherine Heigl's on Suits.
Izzy Stevens is on Suits replacing Meghan Markle?
Yeah.
Holy
the
cow.
real queen is here.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
I'm worried about Suits now. She doesn't have a good track record. Oh, my God. This is really big. Thank you for letting me know.
Yeah, sure.
Back to the Warriors for a second. The Warriors lost by 30 in Utah. And Chris Haynes, I think it was Chris Haynes, was like +1 for nightlife. The Warriors very specifically, like 3 or 4 of them, Instagram pictures of them at an escape room.
Yeah, I when you first said this, I was like, does Salt Lake have a club called Escape Room?
No.
Because there should be one.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good idea. But an escape room is like a team building challenge, whatever. And so was that like a distraction to be like, look what fun we're having as a team, like, and like being sober in Utah?
I don't understand how you get smashed by 30. Like I feel like this is a season where we're seeing a lot of like, like the Cavs giving up like 135 points to teams. They almost give 130 to the Pistons. So when the Warriors go and get just absolutely roasted by the Jazz, What do you guys like do? Like, what happened?
I don't know.
You're the Warriors. I totally don't care. Like, you guys can lose a game, but it's really wild.
It is really weird. Like, when you just come out, like, not playing defense, like, or they're just bored. I don't know. They've had a lot of road games
Because I
lately.
saw it and I was like, oh, Steph and Kevin must have rested. And it's, nope, 30 minutes.
It's pretty weird. I don't really, and also I just found the escape room.
Is Steve Kerr on the hot seat now?
Fire Steve Kerr. Just kidding. We love Steve Kerr here, although we don't want him to run for office. It's pretty good. And yeah, lastly, a trip to Philly.
Oh, God.
Markelle Fultz.
I was kind of hoping we would just wrap it there, but okay.
Markelle Fultz is mad at his coach.
Allegedly.
Allegedly mad at his coach, who Brett Brown basically said he's suffering from psychosomatic effects, and that's why he can't shoot.
So this is slightly, so Mark Jones on an ESPN broadcast said that in a production meeting, Brett Brown said that. And then he said it on the broadcast. Markelle Fultz was like, you can't trust anyone, yada, yada. And Brett was like, I was like wildly misquoted. I've been incredibly consistent in what I've been saying about Markelle all season. And he mentions, I have talked about Markelle hundreds of times. Therein lies the problem. And I really like Brett Brown.
Sure.
But this
great hire
spectacle about which I participate in, which I watch like as if it's like a horror movie every day, the videos from practice, him trying to like get his shoulder to go up above his chin line and shoot 2-foot jump shots, all of the like, I don't ever remember this much footage of an NBA player in practice ever getting online. Like this
why are they still allowing
Why are they doing this?
I don't know.
How many
practices.
times has Greg Popovich talked about Kawhi Leonard in the last 3 months?
0.
7 times? Like maybe?
7. You're right.
To be like,
Not 0.
he's not back, he's not back, he's back, he's not going to be back for a while.
I haven't seen any clips of Kawhi in practice though. Like that I think is 0.
Yeah. So like I just don't understand why this is not a team that's unfamiliar with rookies with injuries.
Yeah.
So whatever the injury is, why is it being played out in public?
I don't know. It's very rude to Markelle, and I don't know. It's kind of inexplicable. As you know, I've been concerned about how the Sixers are managing their stars' careers. So I'm still concerned.
Okay. Great note to leave on.
I have so much to think about with Katherine Heigl now.
I mean, like that's the big takeaway from this
I'm glad it came out on Source to Say because, as we know, the NBA loves suits. Yeah. So it's really fitting. Thanks for listening. RIP to Lob City. And if you have suggestions on who should be the rightful heir to the LA sports crown, please hit us up on Twitter.